What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Jacked Ramsays. Dan and Meringue here. It's been a while, I know. Sorry. I'm going to dive into that to kind of jump to get out of the gate. Welcome in. I appreciate you, whether you're listening on the replay, on the podcast, watching live, whatever it is. I appreciate you. Love you guys. I couldn't do this stuff without all the support that I get from all you guys. But I want to get this out of the way. I did it on the radio last week. I've addressed it kind of. I mean, if you listen to the radio show, you know what I'm about to say, or at least you probably have a good idea. This summer, I started a divorce process, and that's why I disappeared for basically 4 months. I wish I could say that was the only thing I was going through, but I had to take a big step back. I had to get my stuff together, and the reason I'm telling you guys is because I didn't want to dance around it. There was things that I say on air. There was things that I would say on TV, and there was things that I would say here. I would pretend like things were totally okay, things were totally normal, when I was not totally normal nor totally okay. I was very, very, very broken. And I don't know, I just got this feeling that as much as it sucks to talk about, I should share it because everybody goes through their stuff. Everybody fights these demons. Not necessarily what I'm going through, but just stuff in life. And so many people that I've talked to have said, thanks for sharing. And it's, you know, I'm sorry you're going through that. And this is not a pity thing. So I don't want that. I don't need that. I'm actually in a really good spot right now. Still fighting some stuff, but I'm in a really good spot. But I say all this because it got really dark. It got so dark that I almost went to a space where you can't come back from. So it's better for me. It's easier for me to talk about this stuff and not act like it's something that wasn't bothering, something that wasn't concerning me, and the reason I disappeared for basically 4 months. So, big part of it was getting back to my faith, getting community, men's group at my church, just massive, massive, massive deal for me. Getting the right people around me. So I say that, not to get all preachy at you, but if you're going through stuff, find people. Don't isolate. Don't seclude yourself. Don't hide yourself away. Don't try to work on yourself by yourself. For me, it was my faith. So, and I'm far from perfect by any means, but that's been massive for me. So, I know it's going to be a massive, massive, massive shift. I know it's going to be like people are coming here like basketball. Oh, we got dark real quick. It's not dark. It's actually good. The divorce isn't good in a sense of like nobody wants to, nor would I wish that on anybody. But yeah, so that's where a lot of stuff's at. So I appreciate you guys. Love all you guys. Like really, truly. With that out of the way, like, rate, review, subscribe, do all of the things, right? Yeah, it's hard to pivot out of that. I did it on the radio show on Tuesday, I think. Was that Tuesday last week? Not this past week, the week before. We did it. I talked about it in the opening segment. And you didn't have to do 2 hours and 48 minutes of radio. Hard pivot out of that for sure. So, I've been on air media stuff for what, 12, 11 years now. Still don't have that down to a fine science. So, with that said, but Trailblazers, 6-6 through 12 games, on pace for kind of what I expected them to be. I picked them to win 40 games this season, and that's kind of where they're looking to be, 40-ish games. There's some trends, there's some notes, there's some things that I've seen that all kind of track as far as like expectations. Few things that I didn't expect for sure. Some things that are probably worse than I thought. Mostly things are better than I thought they would be in some aspects. The main questions I had, I don't think I necessarily have answers for. Just kind of running through them all. I thought Denny was going to take a leap. I thought he had another gear, and he does have another gear. What he is doing this year is showing it that he can be a legitimate number 2 option on a very, very, very good team. If he is your third option, you are probably a title contending team. Like that's the level he's at. I don't know if he's ever going to be a number 1, but he's a damn good number 2. Like if he's your second best player and you've got another dude who's got gears above him, you are in a really, 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 really good spot. Of course, my tabs all crashed, so give me a second while I reopen them. Drew has been better than I expected. I expected the defensive versatility. I expected him to have a calming presence. I expected the effort and the intensity and the veteran savvy, basketball IQ, all that stuff. That's all stuff I expected. His offensive output, particularly as a playmaker, has been astounding. Astounding. It has been absolutely bonkers good. He's at a career-high mark in assists, and now we're only through 12 games. That's probably going to come down a little bit. If it doesn't, awesome. But he's been tremendous. Jeremy off the bench has been great. He's been I think he's still the highest scoring six man in the league right now. But with the exception of him fouling out and getting tossed out of a game, he's been pretty damn good in every game, averaging almost 50% from the field, 40% from three, 85 from the line. The big thing for Jeremy that's been incredible isn't the three-point shooting, it's his rim finishing. He's been an absolute... He's dunked more. In fact, you know what? This is really bad to do live, but I'm going to do it live. I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I'm almost certain Jeremy has more dunks this season than he had all of last year. Like, legitimately. He has been unbelievable at the rim. And why is this not doing this? Come on. Give me a shooting. All right, let's see. Shot type. They're saying he only has 8 dunks. That's not true. I know he has more than 8. And I've seen him miss more than 2 because he's had 2 go off the rim. Oh, you know what? He's been fouled on some that came off. That's probably why. So I take that back. But he is shooting 70% at the rim, which, if you remember last year, he was, 37% from 2. So, yeah, he has taken 43 shots at the rim already this year. 11 of his 30 have been assisted. So 2/3 of his shot at the rim, basically, have been him driving, putting the ball on the floor, and getting to the rim. He's taken 58 threes, 73 twos. 43 of those twos are shots at the rim. Mwah! Love that. In the underperforming category, people are going to get mad at Shaden, obviously. Shaden's shooting has just not been there. Over the last couple of games, his rim finishing, if he had a really rough start at the rim to start the season, which I thought was really weird, the shooting, it's kind of one of those things, particularly from 3. But his rim finishing has been really good the last, 3 or 4 games. The 3-point shooting is just not, early on, it was definitely a case of, he just looked like he was pressing. He looked like he was rushing it. And I was like, okay, he's probably trying to prove the contract. He's trying to prove the starting role. He's trying to prove within the new system, the new coaching staff, the flow, all those kind of things. Now I'm just not sure. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's just not a shooter. I don't know. It's one of those things where I just shrug because mechanically it's not something you look at his jumper and go, it looks broken. It doesn't, because he's got a nice looking jumper. He definitely gets sped up. He definitely rushes his feet sometimes. Those things pop up, but it's not one of those things where yeah, you can really see it. Where, those guys in the league, you look at a jumper, you're like, nope, that guy's not a shooter. The interesting thing is that when Shaden gets the 15 feet and he gets that pull-up, I'm like, take that shot every time. If they're going to backpedal, if you can't get to the rim 3 of those a night, absolutely not. That is your shot. That is where you live when you're talking about you as a shooter. It's nice to see the games that he had against New Orleans and Orlando, with a caveat of that being neither of those teams are great rim defending teams, but that's what good players do. If you're not a good rim defending team, then it's one of those things that, take advantage of that. If teams don't close out well on shooters, take advantage of that. If teams are hyper aggressive, take that away from them. Attack early, play with pace, all those kind of things, right? Donovan's also in the underperforming category. I think there's only probably been about a quarter of his games where I think you felt his defensive presence, and I think that's less to do with Donovan, more to do with the style that they're playing. And I think it's going to be something he's just going to have to find his spots. The 3-point shooting is one of those things where you're just like, I don't know if that's going to be there. I think he's looking at this the other night. Joe Simons and I were talking about this. I think it was 2 of his last 27 from 3. That's rough. It is one of those things where he shoots it confidently. He doesn't look like he's hesitating. It looks okay. It's probably one of those things where you live with through the first half of the season. If it doesn't improve, maybe you kind of have to evaluate some things, and maybe he's got to be in the lab a little bit and put some more work into that before it becomes a bigger issue. Or I should say a bigger issue, a solvable thing, at least in season. Unless it's one of those things where he just has to get to the offseason and really refine some things, really break it down and build it back up. Chris Murray, I think, has been really good in what his ask is for him. For him, it's always going to come down to the three-point shooting. He's a plus defender. I mean, he's not just like a run-of-the-mill defender. I think he's a above-average defender. I really do. 6'8" guy, moves his feet really well, always in the right spot. Doesn't gamble, really cuts off angles incredibly well. I'm really bummed that Matisse Thybulle and Blake Wesley are injured. I thought both those guys were the catalysts for their defense, and we'll kind of talk about that with a lot of the questions you guys are asking, or you guys asked, I should say, on Twitter. And again, thank you for so many questions. But I think those two guys were massive in how the Blazers want to play and how aggressive they are. You get those guys out there for 14 to 18 minutes a night, but that's just 14 to 18 minutes a night of hell. Like, those guys just get after you, man, and they're so good. They're so hard to screen. They are so ridiculous with their intensity, how good their hands are, how quick their hands are, how accurate they are with their hands, how well they shoot the gap and generate steals and deflections. They're just so disruptive. And I think the Blazers are really missing them right now. They're already shorthanded with Dame out for the season. Obviously, Scoot out and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Scoot out for a while. But now their guard depth really took a massive hit. But I thought those guys were like talismans for them. Like, they were so good at setting tone when they got out there. It's like, all right, first shift's over. Here come the other guys. Here comes the night crew. And the night crew is just absolutely unhinged. Like three white Monster drinks, a couple packs of cigarettes and Adderall. Just, all right, let's go. Like, and you're just sitting there like, you got to be kidding me. I got to deal with this crap now? Like, what? Why do I have to deal with these guys? So that was a major bummer because I thought those guys were really impactful. Tumani, the only issue I've really had with Tumani is his three-point shooting has been streaky. I've seen some people get a little frustrated about how many attempts he's taken. Look, with the amount of shots that they're trying to get up on a given night, if they're getting 100-ish shots up a night and Two's taking 10 threes and they're all wide open and he should be shooting 36, 37%, I have no problem with that. They need to go in. I can't sit here and be like, well, Shaden, his shooting, well, Two struggled, but he hasn't struggled quite as much as Shea, and that's why he gets a little bit more leash in that regard. Wap, I thought his spot minutes have been really helpful for them. I mean, he's probably won them 2 games. He's definitely won them at least one when he got out there and knocked down 3 threes in that quarter. It was like, oh, they needed that big time. And that's the thing I think about this team that's been really interesting. It's been really fun, is that so many nights so far, somebody else has showed up. Donovan had one really big night where you really felt his presence defensively and on the glass. Jeremy's been really good off the bench. Denny's been phenomenal. Even on bad Denny shooting nights. Started 0 of 11 and then ends up, being a monster in the game. Started off 0 for 5 against Houston and was able to save that even though they got smacked around because they couldn't take care of the ball. Rob Williams, man. Rob has looked really good in spurts. He looks like he trusts his knees, which is so huge. When you have to battle back from those injuries, that's almost the hardest thing to conquer. And he has chased so many offensive putbacks, chased blocks, and I don't mean chased negatively. He has really, really, really put his foot down, and it looked to explode for blocks, explode for putbacks, rebounds. He has been hyper aggressive with that stuff, and you can't do that if you don't trust your body. There's been a couple times he hit the floor, and I'm just watching him like, all right, he's gonna rub his knees, he's gonna look down, and kind of like, oof, that was close. I haven't seen any of that, and that's really, really, really cool to see. I'm super happy for him, and they're getting good minutes out of him. And I think as the season goes on, as long as he can continue to stay healthy, you'll see him get even more comfortable in the flow of things. Those are the kind of individual player notes, right? Certainly some other guys have gotten out there in little spurts, but I think those are the guys they're your contributors through the early season. Jabansky asked if I noticed any notable differences in coaching between Chauncey and Tiago. And I noticed one strong similarity. They both use first quarter challenges. It didn't change with Chauncey, guys. This is it's like an organizational thing. I don't know. I throw my hands up at that one. Sometimes you go to bat for your guys. Sometimes you get frustrated. I don't know. I don't know if they have any hard and fast rules. It's something I want to ask them when they get back from this road trip about the challenges. Because it's one of those things where you're just like, you just kind of shrug at it. But overall, you know how this team wants to play. They want to play fast. Towards the end of this road trip, they have gotten much slower. I think a big part of that is they basically played a game every other night for the past 2 weeks. I think they're tired. I think they're shorthanded. The injuries are exacerbating some of the stuff that, with the intensity and the effort they want to play with and the pace they want to play with. Because it's one thing to be super defensive and really go after it. It's another thing to also be super defensive, be that aggressive, and try to play that fast offensively. Not only that, their bigs outside of Rob really can't run the floor. So that means Denny and Jeremy are having to play heavier minutes, at the 4 and the 5, where now they're having to be more physical and expend more energy. And I'm just kind of wondering if that's one of those things where those guys are getting maybe a little beat up, maybe a little tired when they're playing so many games, especially out on the road with a 5-game trip. As far as like major coaching decisions, Tiago's more demonstrative on the sideline. Like I've seen a few people say, well, Tiago's really coaching from the sidelines. He's really directing. He does. There's no doubt about that. Chauncey did it too. There were times where he was, really into it. I would say that Tiago's more consistent in that regard, where he's really diagramming things. Where it really showed out to me was early in the season against the Warriors. I say early in the season, they're 12 games in. Earlier this season against the Warriors, the Warriors went to a zone. They went to a 2-3 zone. And they had Steph and Pods up top of the zone, which that's not going to work when Denny Avdia is your primary initiator above the break, and that's what they did. They had Denny just battering ram 2 guys that are 4 and 5 inches shorter and 50-plus pounds lighter. I mean, Denny's just way bigger than those guys. And I saw Tiago really trying to direct guys to the middle of the floor, like a little Iverson cuts, like when they would get to the middle to try to collapse the zone and kick it back out. And it was kind of funny. After probably 5 or 6 possessions, Tiago was kind of like, oh, Denny's got this. Denny's got this, because Denny just kept putting his shoulder in and just getting to the middle of the floor by himself because they just weren't big enough. And I think when you see some of the other teams like Houston and Orlando that are bigger and can get into those zones, they can get into 2-3, they can get into 3-2, they can sag off, they can gap, and use size, that's something where you see Tiago maybe get a little bit more animated and get into it, because it's not something you can just kind of hit it with a hammer, which is Denny is just basically a hammer. And I mean that in the most flattering manner. That man is a sledgehammer. He just puts his head down and gets his shoulder and you just trucks guys. So those are kind of the big things. I think Tiago also lets guys go a little bit longer before calling timeouts. He lets guys try to figure some things out. I know there are certain coaches in the league that are more akin to do that. There are certain coaches in the league that want to micromanage everything. I think there's probably a sweet spot depending on any given night. You just have to know your guys. Some guys want to kind of figure it out on their own. Some guys want to really be coached up. Some guys, you're kind of like, whatever, dude, it's your job, So those are the kind of things that I think you're just going to kind of wait and see and figure them out. And at that point in time, you go, okay, how do we go, where do we go from here? The offense is the offense. The install was there to begin the season. I've seen some people it was pretty funny watching some people go, well, now that Tiago's in charge, you're going to see all these things. Like, it didn't really change that much because Tiago was a massive part of the install. So what you saw on opening night was kind of what you saw going forward. But what you saw opening night was something different. So I don't want to take credit away from Tiago at all. And in fact, I want to give him that credit. Him and Patrick St. Andrews and Chauncey, for that matter. Those guys kind of, and Nate Bjorkgren, they kind of built this thing up, and that's where they're at. And I think those are trends and signs and things to watch, particularly with the pace and the defensive effort and intensity. I want to check this right now. I want to see. All right, let's pull this up. All my tabs closed. All right. So Portland fell from what was an insane turnover rate. They had the number 1 turnover rate through like the first 8 or 9 games, and it was like 21%, which is just nuts. You're turning a team over more than once every 5 possessions. They've fallen all the way down to number 2. Dun, 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 dun. And that's after 3 games where they really just haven't turned opponents over. Which is kind of weird with New Orleans in there with only Jeremiah Fears and Jose Alvarado as like primary initiators. Trey Murphy III, as much as I love him, not a guy I look at and go, yeah, he's going to run your offense, efficiently and fluently the entire night. And they didn't really turn them over either. So, But they're down at number 2 behind Oklahoma City, 17%. They're sandwiched in between Oklahoma City and Atlanta. Oklahoma City, Portland, Atlanta, I think are 3 teams that play very, very, very disruptive defense. So that tracks. Detroit's right behind at 16.9%. What's unfortunate for Portland is they're 20th in effective field goal percentage. For reference, OKC is number 1 at 50.6 effective field goal percentage. Portland at 55.4. So it's a 5% difference. They're giving up a higher effective field goal percentage, 54.4, than they are shooting, 53. So they're 20th and 23rd in the league, respectively. They're also, their own turnover rate has kind of ballooned over the last couple of games. They are up to 15.9%, good for 20th in the league. Now, they make up for some of that with their pace. Getting more possessions leads to more turnover opportunities, but this is a percentage base, not a individual total base. So they also make up for it with their offensive rebound rate. They are 4th in the league in offensive rebound rate, 33.5%. A third of their misses are turning into second chances. Now, them converting that, coming back to their effective field goal percentage, that's where a lot of this stuff lies. All in all, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Like, their defense is good. Their points per possession has kind of suffered, especially after that Houston loss. They gave up 140. Yikes, dog. Kevin Durant seemingly could not miss. Alperen Sengun was really good, even though Amen Thompson struggled a little bit. Thanks, Dallas. Hold on. Oh, cool. My camera's moving with me. I love it when it does that. Sorry. Got puppies barking at each other. There we go. Back to this. What I think you got is a bit of a mixed bag. They play fast. They play a little, I want to say, careless at times. I think your two likeliest contributors to that are Denny and Shea. Both those guys have turnover rates that's far too high. They got to learn or figure out how to clean that up. The shooting is going to be the shooting. They're going to be a streaky team. I mean, Jeremy and Denny are really the only guys that have been consistent as shooters for the most part. What was Drew at? I looked it up earlier. Drew's okay. Drew's at 45, 37, 84. So Drew's right there as well. But Denny's at 3.6 turnovers a night. Shaden's at 2.8. Drew's at 2.9. That's fine. It's a little high. I shouldn't say it's fine. It's high, but Drew's also averaging 8.3 assists a night, whereas Shaden's averaging 1.7. Shaden's almost 100% under assist to turnover ratio. Not good. So, and then when we talk about 3-point percentage, Jeremy, good. Denny, good. Drew, okay. After that, it gets just desolate very fast. Two's at 33%. Shaden's at 27%. Chris Murray's at 24%. I mean, Donovan's at 18%. I mean, there are some rough numbers. So there's plenty of room for opportunity. Like the challenges and opportunity series that I started, which I had Shaden's 90% done, and then time trying to deal with everything. So I'm going to come back and get you guys that one here either tomorrow or Monday. I've got probably 5 things 90% done sitting on my Patreon right now. So for everybody that's subscribed, I'm sorry. You're just going to get dumped a metric ton of content over the course of the next week or so. So now that things are starting to settle in and I'm settling in, there you go. But thank you everybody that's hung around and stuck by. And I know some people were asking for more shows. There will be more shows. I wanted to do more on this road trip, but I'm currently getting ready to sell the house. So this was not a good week. So as far as time is available, turns out you have to do a lot of stuff when you sell a house. Not fun. But as things start to clear up, I will have more time and more opportunities to do more stuff. And as always, you can catch me on the radio 10 to 1 on the firm of Harris and Meringue on our lovely Liberty Radio station, either 10:80 a.m. the old home, right? There you go. Or on our new FM station, as well as Rip City Wrap Up on K2 KUMP with me and Joe Simons. So appreciate you guys. Love you guys. But with that all said, I want to make sure I leave as much time as possible for all your guys' questions. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there real quick as far as like things, notes, trends, things that I'm watching. I'm doing the big. I started the 10-game big deep data dive, and I'm just kind of adjusting the numbers as I go through. as far as things that I wanted to see and kind of notice trend lines of, just go, okay, here's a marker here, and let's see where it goes from here, and just do them in 10-game buckets and see if there's some stuff we can pick up on. So let's get into your questions. There's a bunch of them. Elite asked if I want to know how we get more Jacked Ramsays. Maybe do a co-host post games every night. Road trips, maybe I'll do more of them. This is the one road trip where I wasn't going to because, like I said, I have some selling the house, so I've got a million things to do there. But otherwise, no. It's a hard no. Home games, I get home at like midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. Excuse me. And that's a complete and utter no. No, dog. I appreciate you and thank you. I would love to do more, but my mentals and my chickens cannot handle that right now, as it were. So, shout out Jared Kelly. When does Scoot come back from injury? A couple of you guys asked about Scoot. How do you see him fitting with this roster, this offensive and defensive system? I have gotten no official update. Anytime I've asked, I have been told he has not cleared the window yet as far as his return to play window, which is 4 to 8 weeks. And then Joe Cronin in the media availability on media day said probably closer to 4 to 10 weeks. I have been operating under the auspices of Christmas, and nobody has really pushed back on that, is what I would say. If Scoot starts working out, that's a noticeable change. I have not heard anything about him working out. I know some people saw something about on ESPN, like him being day-to-day. I haven't seen anything about him being day-to-day. I think he's day-to-day because I think he's a week out from his 8-week window, which was originally released, which I think he hits 8 weeks on Friday. I think it's the 21st is when his 8-week window is from the press release. At which point in time, I will ask again, because I can, instead of bothering them endlessly and irritating folks, don't get me wrong, I ask when they're here, and I can talk to guys too. So if I find out anything, I'll let you guys know. But I have been operating under Christmas because it is a 4 to 8 week or 4 to 10 week injury before he returns to basketball activities. And if he's not doing anything, now he's trying to stay in shape, but he can't really do anything. It's a hamstring injury, it's a torn hamstring. He's stone cold chilling as far as like putting tax and load on his leg, or on his hamstring at least. Because it's one of those things that it has to be 100%. Otherwise, you detrimentally tear it, and now you're looking at surgery. So, chilling for 2+ months. He's going to need probably 2 weeks at least to get ramp up. Then he's probably going to need a week of like harder, like going through practice, whether it be with the remix or the Blazers, really ramping it up. And at that point in time, you're looking at 12 to 13 weeks. So for the end of September, when the press release comes out, that means you're looking at the end of December. What's the end of December? Christmas. If he comes back before that, awesome, great, love to see it. But if he doesn't, okay, but as long as he's ramping up around beginning first week of December, like he's been cleared, second week of December, then it's like, okay, let's see where things go and make sure he's okay. If you get into the second week of January, third week of January, and he's still not going, then you go, okay, are we looking at surgery? That's when my antenna go up at least. Soft tissue injury, especially hamstrings, that's just something I don't want to deal with. As far as how he fits in, Scoot has said numerous times he doesn't want to play in structure. He wants to play more, freestyle, fast pace. The question I have with that is Scoot's turnovers. He has had a staggeringly high number of bad pass turnovers. And I looked at it last game on Wrap Up with Joe. The Blazers are currently 11th in when you look at their combined lost ball and bad pass turnovers. I think they're 18th in just bad pass. So like just general sloppiness, like dribbling it off your knee, off your foot, those kind of things, which is kind of Scoot's biggest bugaboos is, what was that turnover? Those are things I think he could exacerbate. But on the flip side, he is a guy that can play with pace and wants to get out in the open floor and wants to push pace. And I think Scoot's going to be fine as a shooter. So if they have another guy out there and Drew's not having to play 36 minutes a night, he's not playing as many minutes as he is years old. Okay, like that's helpful. And their guard depth is hit so hard right now. I think that's a real opportunity for him. As far as his role and how he fits in, I think there's a lot of things that he can do. Defensively, he's good when the ball's in front of him. He's definitely prone to lapses, or was at least prone to lapses when the ball went to the other side. I think it was something that both him and Shaden struggled with. But let's see what it looks like. Let's see what it looks like when he gets to be more aggressive and he gets to get up on guys and use his strength, use his physicality, and kind of feeds off what the other guys are doing as well, and then other guys can feed off him because Scoot's a high-energy guy. I think that's something that could be really, really good. I do not expect him to start when he comes back. I do not expect him to start really this season unless they're willing to bump Shaden out of the starting lineup and, go with Scoot and Drew. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So as far as fitting in, I think you're probably looking at him getting probably 22 to 24 a night when he first starts coming back, getting up to 26, 28, and you can bump Drew up to the 2. You can go with some smaller lineups with Scoot, Drew. Honestly, Drew could play the 1 or 2. Hell, you could play Drew at the 3. He's so strong. There were times he got switched on to Alperen Şengün in the Rockets game, and he just held Şengün up, and I was like, that's a really strong guard. Like, my goodness, how are you that strong as a guy that doesn't look like, don't get me wrong, Drew's built, but he doesn't look like he's built like that. He doesn't look like Lou Dort, and yet he's Lou Dort strong. He's just a truck, man. But I'm really interested to see what Scoot looks like. Ben asked if there's any indication of whether Master Splitter, shout out Danny Vigil, my producer on Wrap Up, who dropped the Master Splitter opening the season, takes the full reign of the team without the acting title. I don't think that's, to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think the league's going to let it happen because there's so much ambiguity around the case against Chauncey, and everyone's going to make sure they dot their I's and cross their T's with all the legal stuff. That's why he's acting coach and not interim coach, because Chauncey is still the head coach, just not acting because of the ramifications of how the league has placed it, the Coaches Association, and everything else, the collective bargaining agreement, all those kind of things. To be honest, as of right now, I don't know if Dundon and his group are going to keep anyone around. There's plenty of folks that certainly believe that they're just going to burn it all down to the ground, not the roster, but the front office, coaching staff, everything, and just start from scratch. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I think it's probably one of those situations where you probably want to let it run its course and see how things look. If this is a team that ends up like somewhere between 7 or 8, even 9, hell, even 10, depending on how they're playing and injuries and all those kind of things, then the front office built a pretty good roster and they're on their way and they're making, they're showing growth. The same thing with the coaching staff. If they're playing with an identity and a style and a pace and a tenacity that all makes sense then to build forward, you probably at least want to take a look at that. But it's a big shrug, to be honest. I don't know. All that stuff is so far away right now, and I think it's going to be status quo with that stuff. Texas Blazer asks, what improvements would you like to see with coaching as Thiago continues to get his feet under him, rotations, amount of pressure, scheme, also what he would like to have this far? I've kind of gone through some of the things already. The rotation stuff, Thiago's actually been pretty fluid with some rotation stuff that I've really liked. My biggest bugaboo with Shaden as a starter has to do not with his talent, but his feel. And I think he's a guy that needs to be on the ball more and wants to play a little bit slower sometimes. And I think when you're playing with Drew and Denny, Drew's a supercomputer and Denny just has like 2 speeds, chill and not chill. And Denny's usually flipped into not chill. And I think when that happens, Shaden doesn't have that necessarily that gear, that feel to play at that speed yet. And you can see it, the gears spin, but it's like the gears aren't the right sized. If that makes sense. Like, it'll spin, but every now and then they'll separate, and then they'll kind of come back together. And it's like, you can see him figuring some stuff out, especially when he's aggressive and he attacks to the rim hard. That's when you see it really starting to shine. But there was something that Thiago did that I thought was really interesting. The reason I wanted Jeremy to start was that Jeremy is a play finisher. And I thought that was what that group needed. And that's what Chauncey did on opening nights. What Thiago's done more than not is he's closed with Jeremy at times. Because when Jeremy gets the ball, one of 3 things is going to happen very quickly. He's going to shoot it, he's going to drive it, or he's going to pass it. Shaden, a lot of times he'll catch it and go into a triple threat, or he'll pause or take like an extra second, and like it just slows things down because he's just not processing there yet. And Thiago, and it comes from a system not only with Paris basketball and what he implemented over there, but he played with those Spurs teams where, and I heard it mentioned on the broadcast, I think on the road trip too. This is one of the things I really want to talk to Thiago about is he played like at a half second. That you make a decision within a half second. Attack, pass, shoot. Everything is a half second. It's go, snap, pop. And I don't think Shaden is there yet. But with that, instead of bringing Jeremy in for Shaden, he brought Jeremy in for Denny, which took one of the primary ball handlers off the floor and elevated Shaden into a position where he had to make decisions quicker because the unit was more reliant on. There was a game before they went on the road trip, guy, I need to take a look at my notes, where he put Shaden out on the floor with like Blake, Tease, Shea, Chris, and Donovan, I think is what it was. It might have been that lineup. It was something akin to that, where it was basically, Shea, figure it out, dog. And it was one of the times where we saw Shaden be aggressive, and like it was one of those things where Tiago basically just said, I'm not going to give you a choice. You have to be aggressive. You have to be a contributor in a sense as far as a facilitator, a creator, a playmaker. And Tiago's done that more than a few times. He did it when he went to WAP against OKC, and he put him at the 5, and they had him running the baseline in the dunker spot, and it was like, this isn't working. WAP's not a rim runner. And so what he did, and this is kind of a risk because you're asking two guys who aren't great at covering in space, but he goes with WAP and Donovan's now running the baseline, and WAP is spread to the corner, and that's when WAP nailed those threes, and you're just like, oh, that's interesting. Because they needed the shooting desperately, but it was like, okay, how do I get WAP on the floor and optimize him? So there's some in-game stuff so far that I think with the rotations has been really interesting. And when they get back to town, I'm going to ask them about the amount of pressure they're putting on teams. Their pickup point is definitely dropping back. Like, they were shattering records for how far up the floor they were picking up teams. Like, nobody was even close. The amount of times that not only they were picking up, but full court pressing was breaking the system. It was like, they're picking up full court like just under a quarter of the time. That's disgusting. Like, the next closest I think was like 14% of the time. Nobody was even close to what they were doing. It was like the Houston Rockets when they first started shooting just all these threes. It was just like, you'd see the Rockets at 50 a night. I'm just making a number up, and the next closest team was at like 40, and you're just like, whoa, that's a massive, massive, massive outlier. Like, how are they, or why are they doing that, and how is that working? And be fair to the Blazers, man, like, more teams are copying them than not. More teams are being more aggressive, picking up further, wearing teams down, going with like the hockey line ship substitutions. It's been really, really interesting to see how that stuff plays out. So those are the things I'm kind of watching right now. Shane asked, do we think Shaden's finally found his flow in Tiago's offense? Feels like he's much more comfortable as working on attacking the rim more consistently, which I think is so much better suited to his game than settling for threes, long fadeaways. Yes. I say yes and no. I think he's comfortable being more aggressive. I still don't think he knows exactly where and how he fits in. I think we've seen ball go in hoop more, which a lot of us will tend to believe, oh, he's figuring things out. I think his drive rate and when he's driving has been much better. He's understanding spacing and when guys are cutting and those kind of things. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, his playmaking is still nowhere near where, 1.7 assists. That's, oof, especially when you're having that many turnovers. Like, if you're going to be on that ball that much, you better be an elite self-creator, or you need to find some opportunities for other guys too. And those are things he's going to have to figure out. I think he's doing better, but I think the shooting is going to be something that's going to be something you're just going to have to deal with. Casey asked, what do you think your top 3 trade targets would be the Blazers want to go in all in this season? I'm sure Wemby. Wemby, there you go. To go all in, you need a superstar, and that's the thing that they don't have. So, like, the top 3 trade targets that want to go all in, it's, you need the star. Like, I've seen the Bleacher Report one. Somebody put up Lowry. If Lowry was on his old deal, I'd be very tempted. Like, that would be fun. But he's not. He's making 44 million a year, and it's just now if you were swapping him out for an older guy on the team, sure, because the timeline would make a little bit more sense, and the shooting makes a little bit more sense, and his unique play style, how he plays on the ball and off the ball, I think he's one of the best off-ball, and not even that, he's the best off-ball guy in the league, not named, Kevin Durant, who can work into space, just catch and shoot over the top of anybody. Wemby's a different category, but like he's a really unique player. He works really well as a cutter, which you don't usually see from guys that are that big. So, with expiring contracts of Tybal, RW3, and a young piece, are there any attractive trade targets this year's deadline? We'll check that in January. Where you're just too far out for that right now, especially with as many injuries as they've already had. That you're still trying to figure out, like, what does Shade look like? What does 2 look like? What does Drew look like? What does Donovan look like? Like, you need more time and more games and more data before you start looking at who you're going to trade and who you're not. But we'll get there. Trust me. When we do, it'll be one of those things. How much cap space will we have next summer, and what are your preferred way to use it? That's from Kenny. Again, too far out from that right now. You could trade. You could do 2-for-1s. You could lopsided trades. You could prioritize cap space. I wouldn't prioritize cap space, not in this CBA. I'll say that when it comes to cap space, I would not prioritize cap space right now. I don't think that's something that's going to be that big of a deal going forward, because I don't think guys are going to get to free agency in a way that you want. Jake and Aussies, is it wrong to want lottery position with the strength in this class? No. No, it's not. This is shaping up to be one of the best classes in the last 10 years. Maybe the last 15 years, maybe the last 20 years. Whether it's Darren Peterson, whether it's AJ DeBonsa, whether it's Cam Boozer, whether it's Caleb Wilson, whether it's Mikael Brown, just go down the list. There are 10 dudes in this draft. Amen. I mean, there's so many guys in this draft where you're like, oh, buddy, there are some dudes in this class. Cam Boozer had like 35, 15, 5, and 5 the other night. You look at his advanced stats, he's like the 75th percentile or higher in everything. You're just like, okay, so I wasn't that out of pocket when I said he's a combination of Tim Duncan and Kevin Love. Good, cool, awesome, good to know. It's just DeBonsa is this 6'8", 235, 240-pound 18-year-old who just can get to wherever he wants to. Darren Peterson is just the best guard prospect we've probably had since, oh God, probably in the last 5-6 years. Like he does stuff, and you're just like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. So. No, it's not. And there's a world where, they make the play in and they get bounced out and they're still on the back end of that. And, maybe they get lucky, or maybe injuries ding them, and that's the world they live in. But, hi, Bubba. Come here. Come here. Okay, fine. Dog wants to whine, but doesn't want to come up. I'll put you on in a minute. Don't worry. Sorry, you guys get to hear me talk to my dogs. Brian asked, biggest surprise from the season so far? Drew. Hands down, Drew. He's been, I thought he was going to be good. Did not think he'd be this good. My goodness. Why do you believe the defense has declined so rapidly? Tired, lack of depth. I think it's really that. Who's the it factor outside the main guys? Drew, 2, Denny, Jeremy. It's Blake and Tease. It's Blake and Tease, man. Those two guys. Come here, bud. Come here. Everybody wants to see you. Come here. Oh, come here, you little chunk. There you go. Tanner doesn't get much TV time. It's usually Dallas. There you go, bud. Least favorite team in sports. Oof. Lakers or Yankees, Cowboys. It's all the ones everybody loves or pretends to love, and I hate them. I do. Don't get me wrong, Ducks. You're up there. I'll see you guys down at Autzen if you guys are going to be there. I'll be down at Autzen for USC Oregon this week. So, Reezy asked, do you think RJ Barrett or PJ Washington are good fits with this Blazer group? I could be talking to PJ, but I don't think that's necessarily the kind of player that they want. It seems like he's another a better version or a different version of kind of player they already have. And I want nothing to do with RJ Barrett. Never have, never will. If that's your Huckleberry, great. Go for it. More questions about the trade. Again, that's just one of those things where you're going to have to figure some things out and wait until we get a little bit closer. Oh, you want to get down now? All right. You made your debut. Go on. Alex. So this is an interesting one. Should I tone down my new and again, all your questions are interesting, but this is one that I'm kind of toying with. Should I tone down my new expectations of being a play-in team? I'm trying to figure out if the Blazers are good or lucky. My answer to the good or lucky is yes. They've gotten some teams on back-to-backs. They've gotten some teams that were injured, but the NBA is, and I think you're seeing this across sports right now. There is a lot of parity in sports right now. There is a ton of parity in sports, and it's really kind of refreshing because I like this. Anybody can win on any given day. The Panthers can beat the Packers. I'd say the Wizards can beat anybody, but if they're 1-11, 1-12, God, they're bad. But I think the juicy middle is, look, the Blazers knocked off the Thunder. And you can be like, well, Caruso was out and Chet was out and J-Dub's out. And like, yeah, but they also have like 14 dudes that are NBA players. So, yeah. The Blazers knocked off the Nuggets and the Thunder, and they got housed by the Rockets. I think there's a lot of teams that can beat a lot of teams in the NBA right now, and I think I think the Blazers are legitimately good. Now, are they playoff good? Probably not. Probably not. I don't think so. But are they could they make the playoffs? Yeah, I don't expect them to win anything there. They may win a game. They may win a play-in. If let's say they're the 10 seed, they may win one game and then bounce in the second, but they're heading up for sure. But I think that having them as a play-in team is totally fine, especially with where they're at right now. And if they're healthier, yeah, they should be a play-in team. Like I said, I penciled them in at 40 wins. Where they fall within that, as far as the pecking order, like Memphis is worse than I thought. Sacramento's as bad as I thought. New Orleans is as bad as I thought. Utah's as bad as I thought. Phoenix is better than I thought. The Clippers are way worse than I thought. My goodness. So you just kind of take a look at where things are right now. I think on any given night, they've been between 7, 8, 9 for the last week. So why not? They should be a playing team. So Nathaniel Carter asks, how do I think Dame will fit into this group next year? It's one thing I try to remember. The Blazers have 25 a game sitting on the bench. Now, is he that guy? Dame thinks he is. I've talked to him about this a ton. Dame thinks he's going to come back and be himself. That's not me parroting anything. That's what he thinks, wholly and completely. And if he's not, he'll adjust. But beyond that, he's a real offensive threat that teams are terrified of. And if he comes out there and he's 23 to 25 a night, that fundamentally changes the dynamic of this team. Now, is Dame the level of defender of Drew is? No. But is Drew the level of offensive player that Dame is? No. So how do you want to do that? How does that stuff all fit? And that's going to be one of the massive storylines for next year. Elliot asked if the Blazers have seen any good movies lately. I'll ask him. That's always a fun conversation. Nasir Little was always really good for that back in the day. Back in the day, it was 4 years ago? But 2 years ago? Yeah, you got traded. God, I can't even remember. Time is a flat circle, man. I don't ask me these things. But that's always a fun one to ask. Peter L. asks, this is the last one in here, I think. Since 2022, how are you feeling about Joe Cronin's drafting? It's been his pick so far: Shaden, Jabari, Scoot, Chris, Donovan, and Yang. I think with Shaden, you're still unsure. Jabari at the back of the draft, he's an NBA guy. He's totally fine. Scoot, I mean, with hindsight, Amen Thompson. But nobody was taking Amen over Scoot. I mean, you can say Amen. That's not even up for debate. Amen's a monster. He's the best athlete in the NBA. And despite him being an absolutely horrid shooter, he still finds a way to be an incredibly efficient scorer at times. And it's how? While also being an all-world defender and just an absolute freak. What he did to Shaden Sharp against the Rockets the other night in the open court 3 different times. I was and this is not a shot at Shaden by any means. Shea is not a guy that just gets blown by because he's strong, he's quick, he's able to cut off drivers. And the way Amen made Shaden Sharp look slow had me go, damn! 3 different times. It was just and the way he throws passes, it just seems like he just fires lasers to guys. He's Andre Iguodala on steroids. It's just, he's so good. Donovan, I mean, that draft class, for what Donovan is, I think he's been a little underwhelming so far, and he's still finding his feet. I think he's fine. And with Hansen, he was 100% a project. I mean, I talked about it when they drafted him. He was probably going to spend some time at the Remix, depending on how things started. Their first year, the Blazers flat out said that his expectations for him this year were less about basketball and more about him being more comfortable on U.S. soil, getting comfortable with the culture, getting acclimated, getting up to speed, just living and being, the face of a nation, so to speak, for 700 million Chinese basketball fans. Letting him just kind of handle all that stuff first and then figuring it out. So that's one of those things I think it'll be next year before we know anything about him. Now, that could be totally wrong, and, he could just all of a sudden click and he could be going. So, but as far as Joe and his staff with Mike and Sergey and Andre, as well as all the scouting staff and all people who work in analytics and everything like that, I think they've done a pretty good job. With Shaden, it was the difference between Shaden Sharp or Dyson Daniels. And they went with Shaden because he had the higher offensive ceiling. Jabari, I know the Blazers were looking at a couple of different players there. And when one of those guys wasn't there, they went with Jabari. Scoot, I stood by it. I mean, I thought Scoot was going to be, and this is going to sound nasty, but I thought Scoot was going to be better than he is. Now, the book isn't written on him. Let's see where he goes and how he comes back from this injury and how well he plays the new system and how well he adapts to things. That's fine. Chris is late first who was kind of funny. He was looked at as a player who had probably a higher offensive ceiling, and he was a guy that never was asked to play defense. I remember asking him about this last year. I was like, have you always been a pretty good defender? And he's like, to be honest, I've never been asked to do it. And he goes, I love it. Like, Chris genuinely, like, he lit up and started smiling. He's like, I love doing this. Like, I love fighting through screens. I love bothering guys. I love getting under their skin and just being that dude. He's like, this is really fun. If he turns into a league average 3-point shooter, which right now might be a bigger ask, he's a rotation player. He's a top 7, top 8 rotation player in the NBA. And having 6'8" guys who can defend and knock down threes, the kind of 3-and-D type, while also having a little bit of passing, a little bit of self-creation. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say I would probably give Joe and his staff at worst a B-, probably a B. Like, looking at where they're picking, like if they, the biggest one obviously right now is Scoot over Amen. But outside of that, I think I've been entirely fine. So we'll see where it is in 2 years. That's kind of the tale. Is you usually need to get about 5-6 years out before you really know who guys truly are, especially when you're talking about guys that are that young. So, all right. Somebody asked one of my early thoughts on Oregon USC. No idea. I think you've got a better defense against a better offense. They've played some common opponents, and they've had some pretty similar results. So I'll be down there. I'll be having some fun. All I'm saying is Oregon better not lose. Better not lose. Better not lose. I know. I'm having my fun. That's the one team I really get to fan out about, except for my Raiders. My Raiders suck horribly. So other than that, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. We're going to keep this one a little bit shorter. I've got well over 600 of you in here right now. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I will have stuff on the Patreon here over the next couple of days. I will be doing more podcasts as things sort of settle in. So again, sorry for the long break. Now you know why. Unfortunately, but again, thank you everybody else. You guys have been really cool and really supportive, and to be honest, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for allowing me to do this and supporting me, and even all people out there who hate my guts. As long as you click and watch, I don't care. I say that on the radio and TV. Hate watch and hate listen all you want. Check still clear. But thank you guys. I do appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe, share us with your friends, share us with your family, do all the things, and catch you all later. Take care. Have a wonderful night. Safe weekend. And I'll catch you guys probably again on Monday. We'll probably do some shorter shows coming up here over the next couple of days. All right. We'll put you outside. Thank you. Take care, guys. Talk soon.